hath said, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people.
Open like a smoker with the lights on. All I had to do was take a bite. You know, flashlight, daytime watchtower. So enticing the servant ready to book the flight. Long legs transported her heavenly frame to community college. While conscious cats fed her with knowledge, but yet and still didn't know the ledge. So she bet on black emotion led. No safe bets, no hedge. No truth in her crew to lean on. Arose from the rocky foundation they feed on. Plucking at your heartstrings, appealing to your melanin. The lower level of Yahweh's design. Yahweh's design, a complex conceptual composition inclined to yearn for its position. Of course she loved to hear that the black woman is God. The need to be exalted, her history so long.
Everything that I want and need, everything that I hope she be. Such a beautiful sight to see. She don't know my God. She don't love my God. She don't want my God. She will not proclaim my God. Oh my God. I can give her the moon and stars. We can travel them near or far. I wanna be anywhere you are. But she don't know my God. She don't love my God. She said she don't want my God. She will not replace my God. Oh my God.
Whoa, it's me in love with an intellect. Shade butter, smooth skin, even better yet. She got her own car, pay her own bills. Got her own crib, got a kid, but her baby daddy's chill. And she ain't all up in the spot, flexing for the gram, living the best life and go fund me in the AM. Them half-dressed shorty, she'll slay 'em. Say less and show lesser, and you'll address her like possibly the missus to your mister. Kissed her with conversation sweet on her, it ain't the liquor. Politicking about Kaepernick and Agent Orange. Led us down a corridor, social reform, and it was on. We spoke about a never-ending identity crisis, a culture unclear on the purpose of life. I affirmed that the answer's in the person of Christ. She emphatically asserted that it's ISIS or Horus and them. Book of the dead, pyramid of coffin text, taking the cues from pseudo scholars at best. Without a primary or a secondary source in sight, she held on tight for dear life. In the end, she would not be moved, no matter the evidence or the points I prove. Cause it's not about evidence and it ain't about truth. Crucified upon her mind, it's a heart issue. God bless you.
Everything that I want and need, everything that I hope she be. Such a beautiful sight to see. But she don't know my God. She don't love my God. She don't want my God. She will not proclaim my God. Oh my God. I can give her the moon and stars. We can travel them near or far. I wanna be where you are. But she don't know my God. She don't love my God. She said she don't want my God. She will not replace my God. Oh my God.
But King Solomon loved many strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites. Of the nations concerning which the Lord said unto the children of Israel, Ye shall not go into them, neither shall they come in unto you, for surely they will turn away your heart after their gods. Solomon clave unto these in love, and he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart. For it came to pass when Solomon was old, that his wives turned away his heart after other gods, and his heart was not perfect with the Lord his God, as was the heart of David his father. For Solomon went after Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. And Solomon did evil in the sight of the Lord, and went not fully after the Lord, as did David his father. Then did Solomon.
I need you, yeah. 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 I need you,
I am not in love with this life. I'm not in love with this pain.
I'm not in love with my efforts, I am not in love with my gains. I've been a slave to my portion, Lord, I built the God in my likeness. In hindsight, I was reckless. A wicked heart, I was trifling. A wicked heart that's enticing. A graveyard in my brave heart. 49% how we praise God. With the other 51, we slayed God and crucified him afresh. Yet expect to see God bless. And we expect to trigger his mercy in spite of what we reject. And expect to invoke his favor as I seem fit. Tailor-made for destruction, loving the stench of death. I drink this, so I built my kingdom. Away from his glory and away from his grace, but away from a broken man, I would never turn his face. So I taste the Lord and attest that he is good. About it breeze revelation, absolute surrender all that I could. So I surrender all of my shame, surrender all of my life. He opened the windows of heaven and I want to spin it all on my wife. Right.
I've been struggling for so long. Man. No longer do it on my own. No. I've been struggling for so long. No. I can no longer do it on my own. No. I need you. I need you. Yeah. I need you. Yeah. I need you, 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 yeah. I need you,
Yeah.
We love you, God.
Yeah. So, this is probably the second, third, actually like fourth, because I done had a few false starts here tonight. But we're finally getting this underway. Absolute Surrender interview series. This is something I've been thinking about and working on for a while, to bring something different to the platform and do something different as far as a interview type of situation. So Absolute Surrender will be an ongoing interview series that I pull in my friends and family, and hopefully at some point, make some new friends and meet some new people as this thing progresses and goes on. And we will have the tough conversations about the journey in absolute surrender. Absolute surrender is not a destination. It's a journey. It's a trip that we take through life. This life is absolute surrender. So definitely inspired by the amazing book that I talk about all the time here, Andrew Murray's Absolute Surrender. Andrew Murray's works has definitely shaped me as a man, helped shape me and grow me. Of course, it's right along with scripture. I ain't seen nothing in his work that is outside of scripture, so it was just is really reinforcing the word and our purpose, and just a very valuable tool that I always recommend for people to invest in and investigate and read and absorb into themselves, into their life. And after that, humility followed, the book Humility, and then the Inner Chamber. And as I've talked about different books and presented different books here on the platform, this book is the first one, and it really stamped me. And I found it in the season when I was
starting to be asked due to the ministry, Crown of Glory 360, and the shows and everything we was doing. People started asking me what my testimony was, and I didn't grow up in church, so I've heard people ask that, and I've watched plenty of testimony. I know what a testimony is, but I had never given a testimony. I didn't never think about what my testimony is, and I was kind of like, well, what is my testimony, God? Like, God, tell me what my testimony is. Literally, that's how I talk to God. And I can't actually put a time on it, but eventually I found this book, and God revealed to me that, first, I don't believe that you have one testimony. I believe we have many testimonies, about different things, and my testimony will be different about, but I guess up until that point, which was 5-6 years ago, 2019 or so, something like that, is when I found this book, is when I started asking God what my testimony was. And he told me absolute surrender. So when I look back over my life, I don't have the story of, I was born to a family, and I was born to a Muslim family or a Buddhist family or atheist family. I was born to a Christian mother, a Christian family, father Christian, grandmothers, everybody Christian. So, as far as back as I can remember, I was taught who God is, I was taught that. And not only I was taught about God, I was taught Yahweh, I was taught Jesus, you know what I'm saying? I was never confused about who or what God is. So my whole trip through this life has been, as my trip through maturity, manhood, and maturity in the word, it's been absolute surrender, because I've always known God, or been introduced to God and believe God, and you know what I'm saying. So it's really, for me, it's about learning that balance and understanding what submission to God is, what being in love with God is, what obeying God is, getting to know God, really discovering those things. So this is what we come to tonight in the new series, Absolute Surrender. Episode 1, The Master Named Me Champion. I'll explain the title as we go on. But so Rico Champion, born Rico Skelton. Rico Jermaine Skelton. I was born 16-year-old mother, single mother in the projects. My parents were never an item. They were never together. So, I don't have any memories of waking up to my daddy and my mama, and I don't even think there's a picture of my mother and my father and me. Yeah, So, but I always knew my daddy, and I knew my daddy loved me. I've never experienced any abuse or any, thing bad from my father, outside of not having the access that I needed or should have had to a father. So, he was young too. My mother's 16, he's 19, and born to two broken teenagers who come from broken homes. His parents weren't together. My mother's parents weren't together. I ended up with the name Skelton because my grandmother was married to her first husband, and still married when she had my mother by my grandfather, James Payne. So I ended up with a man's name that's not mine. Now I got cousins and family who are Skeltons, but I never felt a connection to that name outside of my cousins. But they're blood. So, but I never had, And then my father's name is or ain't his last name. So then there's that. So, I always battled with that. I always struggled with that from time to time throughout life. But in about 2003 is when God changed my name to Champion, and I'll explain that as we go. So, as a young boy, I was, from what I remember from, what people have told me about myself, I was a regular little boy. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't bad. I was really my mother always told me I was kind of self-sufficient and independent. I played by myself. I would, I didn't need a lot to be entertained. I didn't need a whole bunch of people. I didn't need, I wasn't a crybaby or nothing like that. I was just chilling, And just for, and I can reach back in my memories and timestamp things based on what was happening. That's the best thing. And and from what I can recall, my earliest memories is about 3 years old. I remember the house we lived in. I remember this yellow raincoat I had. And I remember it was just me and my mama. And I remember when my father started to come and get me for the weekend, and one time in particular, maybe it was the first time or not, I don't know. I do remember I don't know if it was the first time, but I remember a time he came and got me, and I just was not having it. I was screaming, I was hollering, I was kicking. He put me over his shoulder and carried me. He had this big brown Cadillac. And, and then I got over my grandmama house, granny, and all was good, you know what I'm saying? And so, those are some of my earliest memories, the kind of timestamp how far back I can remember. So why that time is significant is because in that same time period of my life, I can remember when it was just me and my mama. So I had to be about 3 because I'm 3.5 years older than my brother under me, Brittany. And I remember when Brittany's a twin, Tamara and Brittany was brought home. I never forget. I was my mama come home, and we went to go pick up my mama from the hospital, and they rolled her out in the wheelchair with 2 babies in her arm. I remember that. And I remember also my mother had a friend, and we would go over their house. And I remember one of the daughters, and she had to be about 10, 11 years old. And the reason why I know she was 10 or 11 years old is because she would reveal herself to me. She would come and get me and take me upstairs. And I can remember there's pictures that we have of her holding me on her hip. So she wasn't 2 or 3 years older than me. I was about 3. She had to be a good 10, 11, maybe 12, somewhere in there. So she would come and get me every time. Well, I won't say every time, but I can remember times that we would go over there, and she would come and get me and take me upstairs, and I would play with toys and stuff. But then she started to reveal herself to me, and she started touching me and started doing stuff to me. And the reason why I can timestamp her age is because I can remember that her body looked slightly different than other kids and other girls, because I was little, so I'm still at the age where I might take a bath with my brother or my cousin, or I know other little kids' bodies basically look the same as mine, but her body was different. She was developed. She wasn't thinking back in my adult mind. She wasn't fully developed, but she was starting to develop. That's why I know she was at the youngest 9 years old, but I believe she was 10, 11, 12, somewhere in there. She was 10 or 11, something like that. So, just thinking about the things that she used to do to me was very, very, very adult. I mean, I remember one time she took me upstairs and she would touch me, and then she laid me on my back and she straddled me and she took her top down and she seductively like slobbed into my mouth. She told me to hold my head back and open my mouth, and just thinking back at 45, thinking at that, like, this girl, she wasn't a teenager. She wasn't a teenager. So I just think about what adult, man or woman, I don't know who it was. Who was violating her that way? That's so disturbing that children pass on trauma that way. And she passed on that trauma to me. Now, at the same time, I had a relative that whenever I was around her, she would touch me and do things to me. Now, it wasn't as advanced as the older girl, because this family member was maybe 3 years older than me. So, but she had been through a whole bunch of trauma, and she was transferring her trauma to me. And at the same time, little girls in the projects was doing the same stuff. So all my first youngest years was filled with girls doing things to me, to where I started to expect that. I just expected girls would do stuff to me, and then you have the culture that we're living in, and it's perverse. So this is so at 3, 4 years old, lust and sexual perversion is introduced. So now my mind is just, it's twisted as far as it's I mean, I wasn't, I didn't do anything crazy, and what I'm saying, I ain't saying twisted like that, but now my thoughts and visions of myself and of girls and of sex and intimacy is perverted, is corrupted, is tainted, is spoiled, I've seen things that I shouldn't see. People have done things to me. Now, granted, there's only other children. I can only imagine if it was adults or even boys. It was all girls. So immediately right here is the beginning of what, as far as back as I can remember, the assault on my identity. Right here is when the enemy is distorting who I am, distorting my view, my perception of people, and further confusing, what's what. So this, I'm sure it probably started earlier because, being born into a broken family and outside of wedlock, outside of God's design, that's already an attack on my identity and my sonship. Then being born to immature, young parents, teenage parents who didn't have adequate parenting, didn't have the balance. So, yeah. So that's a certain trauma, but I can imagine if it was same sex, that's a totally different trauma. And then if it was adults, male or female, that's a totally different trauma. So from there, fast forward a few years or so, and I don't remember. I remember, my mother had one boyfriend that I remember. I do remember my brother's father being around one time, and then I remember my mother had one boyfriend, and then after that, she got married. She met my stepdad. Now, my stepdad was a great dude. I loved him. I mean, he had his struggles and, but I loved him. He made me feel like I was his son. And my father wasn't around like that. Like, I was over my grandmother's house, his maternal grandmother, my paternal great grandmother. So I was over her house, a significant amount of time, but I wasn't with my father a lot coming up. I didn't start being consistently, with my father till I was about maybe 10, 11, something like that. He started coming get me every other weekend. So that's when, but at 5 or 6, in comes my stepdad, my first bully. Now, this guy was literally Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Like, I mean, cool, funny, smart, taught me about God, loved God, but alcohol was the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde serum. And then he got introduced to crack cocaine, and that turned into a whole nother beast. And it was literally night and day, to a point to where after a while, you would come in and try to fill out what the atmosphere is going to be, and whether or not you are, whether or not it's cool, or whether or not you got to be quiet and sneak on past and be like, you know what I'm saying? And when he was intoxicated, he was an angry man. He was an angry man. And later, we learned that how when he was drunk and high, he did what his stepfather did to him, to us. To me and my brother Brittany, he was abusive, verbally and physically. And it was literally like a light switch. It was like, I don't know if it's Stockholm syndrome or what it is, but I love that man. That is my guy. We made amends before he died, and he came, the family was back together, and he still wasn't perfect, but he was older, and he was, he apologized. So, this isn't to disparage my stepdad, because I loved him. I love him. I cried when he died, and you know what I'm saying? And, yeah, he never, I felt like that was my father. I knew and know my father, and I felt like my father was my father, but I had two fathers. That's just what it is. I had two fathers coming up. So when I get to my teenage years and I'm running in the Victim Olympics and I want to be Tupac, I'm hopeless, I never had a daddy. Now I had two daddies. You know what I'm saying? And both of them were loving. They loved me. But my stepdad was abusive, and my biological father was absent a lot. You know what I'm saying? So my joke is I had two partial daddies that made one daddy. You know what I'm saying? So I do appreciate the great things that I got from both of them, but I don't. I am conscious of the negatives that I experienced from them too, but I don't hold it against them. I love both of them. I love my daddy, and I'm glad that I still have my daddy. But at this time, physical abuse comes in, and resentment is coming in. So physical abuse is introduced, and resentment. Now, resentment is introduced because I'm starting to resent my mother, because when he, the first few times that my stepdad went overboard as far as punishing us, like, he would whoop us with a coaxial cable, and if you know what that is, it's the cable, like the cable from cable television, that black cable, that thick hard cable. We some people know about getting whooped with an extension cord, but a cable is next level. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, he will whoop us with that, and it would break the skin, and we bleed and blister. And first time my mama saw, she wasn't with that. She like, nah, you. But looking back now, I understand that he started to do it out of her sight. He wouldn't do it in front of her, and then he would say things to, oh, what you gonna tell your mama? Or you or you know what I'm saying? So he discouraged us to tell. And for some reason I felt like she knew, because it's like, man, he doing ain't no way you don't know. So on the inside, I'm building resentment. So I have my first bully and I'm building resentment. The ironic thing about it is that my stepdad taught us about God also. He took us to church. He used to drive the church van. We got baptized. First time I got baptized was the church he was taking us to, so that's the chaotic Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde duality of my stepdad, is that, when he wasn't battling substance abuse as far as drugs, he provided. We had great Christmases. We didn't go without, you know what I'm saying? But when the drugs came in, we experienced homelessness. We had to go live with one time we had to go live with my other great grandmother, my maternal great grandmother. And then another time we had to go live with my aunt, my stepdad's sister. And then another time we had to go to a homeless shelter because, we had to go to a shelter for a few months until we got a spot in the projects. You know what I'm saying? So that abuse, that trauma, that verbal abuse, physical abuse, the resentment, the homelessness, the inconsistency. It's like, this is the first time that I'm noticing, like, okay, I ain't at the same school I'm at one school for a piece of the year, then I got to go to another school, and I'm there for a year and a half, and then I got to leave there at the middle of another school because, so inconsistency is introduced. So all of these things are building the future idol I built to protect myself, the tough love Rico that I introduced later. So, now, about 10, 11 years old, resentment for my daddy is building up. Because, everything is chaotic with at home with my mom and my stepdad, and inconsistent as far as now the whole time my mama's a praying woman. She's she dreams and visions and all of that, and she's growing. But remember, she was 16 when she had me. She ain't had no guidance. Her daddy died when she was, I think, 9 or 8. She wasn't even 10 years old. So my mama didn't have a daddy. She ain't have, none of that. You know what I mean? My grandmother was a good mother, but she worked all the time. You know what I'm saying? Single mother. So my mother was figuring it out. my mama and my daddy was figuring it out. Now my stepdad, he was older. He was, I think, 13 years older than my mama. So, which kind of makes it worse because when they got together, my mama was early 20s, and he was early 30s. So, you know, she thought that it was gonna, be a good situation, and it wasn't. So, and the reason why I want to emphasize right here is because the effects of that Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde personality, that imbalance and that inconsistency in the temperament of my stepfather, he would build me up mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and then he would tear me down. Like he told me I was beautiful, I was strong, I was smart, I was all these things. But then when he's drunk and high, he would, while he's physically, you bet not never. Like he almost wanted to put this fear in me that to never rebel as I'm getting bigger and as I'm getting older. And he would say I'm a small person. Now, I wasn't. I was actually a regular sized person, but he would just say manipulating things like, yeah, I chop you down, or I do this and that to you, and boy, don't you ever. And it's like, if I'm wrong or if I'm getting in trouble, you don't even have to do all that, because I wasn't the type of kid where you had to scare for them to do right. If I was wrong, I would just need to be corrected and then maybe put on a punishment, whatever. But I wasn't this crazy rebellious, but he would do this fear thing where he would tear down the very thing that he just put in me. He would cut my hair. He would dress me and show he the reason why I wear Kangos. You know what I'm saying? He put me in my first dress clothes and suit, and you know what I'm saying, and first colognes, and all of the things that that you're supposed to get from your father. I first initially got it from him because he was there. You know what I'm saying? Like later, my father also did those things, you know what I'm saying? But it not like him. Like, like one of my favorite types of jackets is this. It's like a leather blazer. Any type of leather blazer, like I love it. Like I want like my five main colors of like the buttery. Jamar know what I'm talking about. I grew out of one and I gave him my last one. It was a black butter soft leather, and my stepdaddy used to wear them, and I love them jackets. So and that was the you know what I'm saying, and that's another reason why, as I get into this and I explain this, and in the next episode when I talk about the tough love Rico, the harsh, brutal honesty Rico, was because I'm trying to take control of my atmosphere. I'm trying to take control of of consistency. So I want to force everybody to be consistent. I want to force everybody to be upfront, not to be a bully, not to try to take advantage, not to try to, violate, because I ain't doing you like that. So that is the turmoil that's building from this. This was like one of the major, like I said, I didn't get these negative types of things from my biological father. My biological father just wasn't around a lot, but he wasn't abusive like that. And he wasn't abusive at all. And my mother wasn't abusive. So a lot of my aggression, all of my aggression and anger and bully trauma started with my stepfather. So you have him being this wonderful, loving person, but just coming in being a wrecking ball the next day. So how do you navigate that? How do you know what I'm saying? And then how do you respect what he told you about God? Because he'll be drunk and the Bible be sitting right there. You know what I'm saying? That, because he was struggling. Because he had a whole bunch of pain in him. He had a whole bunch of healing that never happened. He healed some as he got older and, before he died but he still struggled. He still struggled. To the day he died, he struggled. He struggled with pride. He struggled with insecurity. He struggled with anger. He still was kind of a drinker. Like he wasn't drinking hard liquor, but it didn't take, see, he was the type of alcoholic that it didn't take hard liquor. If he had a beer, he was a totally different person. So this is the chaos, the calm, the sunny, loving, bright day, and then the tornado. You got to, for you not to be broken and destroyed by that, you got to be hard. You got to, so now I'm building my own Rico. Hip hop is helping me build my own Rico. The streets in the world is helping me build my own Rico. Starting from here. Anyway, but resentment from my father started coming in when, with everything being inconsistent and upside down at home, now I'm like, I'm giving my mama a hard time because school coming around and, I want to be fresh. I want school shoes and this, that, and that. And, when my stepdad came, it was just two of us. My brother Brittany was born a twin, but Tamara died a few months after of SIDS, sudden infant's death. So, it was two of us. But at this time, by the time I'm 10, it's 6 of us. So the family done exploded. It's 4 other smaller kids, my younger brothers and sisters. And me and Brittany is the only ones in school at this point. But, my stepdad is on drugs, so ain't no money. Not like that. My mama got to hide and got to hide the money and, budget and do right and keep him from spending all the money. And, but it ain't no two income household or nothing like that. We in the projects. So I'm salty. I can't get what I want. And, I can't remember what I said or how it came about, but, I know I was giving my mama a hard time about what she could get me for school. And she said, and my mama never spoke ill of my father. My mother never spoke ill of my father, not one time. Now she would keep it real. She didn't sugarcoat it and make it seem like he was doing a bang up job. But the only time I heard her say something against him was when, so out of all my brothers and sisters, there's 3 different fathers. I have my own father. My brother under me has his own father. And then the last 5 got all the same father, which is my stepdad. And you know how kids go back and forth and we bicker and we talking about each other's daddy. And my mama didn't ever really say nothing against my daddy. My mama was just like, oh, don't do that because all of y'all daddies is be tripping. So don't be trying to talk about who got the better daddy or the worse daddy, because that ain't even a game. None of y'all should be playing that game. But I just say that to say my mama never talked crazy. I didn't have a bad image of my father. I didn't have my mama pouring poison into me about my father, which I thank her for that. You know what I'm saying? That's just not what type of woman she was or is. But when I'm giving her a hard time about, what she can do for school clothes or whatnot, she say, call your daddy and ask him. Never thought of calling my daddy and asking him. Right? But not only did I call my daddy, I called my grandmother his grandmother. I called my great grandmother his grandmother, right? So my grandmother said, because my grandmother had custody of my cousin Raven. So, she was, old, and whatever income or, whatever she had, she was spending raising my cousin. You know what I'm saying? So I'm 10. I ain't thinking, I don't know that my granny ain't got it like that. Every time I go over there, she got gifts for me. She got something for, I don't know. I don't know. So he called me going off, like, don't call mama asking her for, so basically he called me, don't ask granny for nothing. And I ain't going to be able to get you nothing because your mama get child support. I did my part. Now, the reason why that bruised me is because I know that he bought things for my other brothers and sisters. And at this point, I can remember, I can't remember all the things that my mama bought me in my childhood, but I can remember what my daddy bought me. We went to Alabama, and I don't know if y'all remember, it was this truck, this remote control truck, and it had like a ladder, a bridge on top of it. And when it rolled and it hit something, like if it rolled and it went down in the crack, it would back up, let the bridge down, it would roll over the bridge and pull the bridge back up on top of it from the back. I don't remember the name of the toy, but I used to see it on the commercial all the time, and he got it from me when we was down in Alabama. I'll never forget that. It's one of my favorite toys, like, you know what I'm saying? And my daddy didn't ever get me no Easter stuff, no Christmas stuff, no birthday stuff, no school. My daddy didn't buy me nothing. I can remember that truck and that trip to Alabama. I was 4 or 5 years old. So at this point, I'm 10, 11 years old. I'm calling asking for some school clothes. He's like, nah, you get child support. From there, I know now the resentment comes in because I know that he buys my sisters things. I know that he buys my 2 little brothers things. And he's never got me nothing, but it didn't even click until I couldn't ask him for something, because I never asked him for nothing. I don't know why, but I never asked my daddy for anything. I didn't used to call my daddy and ask him for anything. That's just not, I don't know. I don't know why I did or I didn't. But anyway, thinking back, I think that, and this comes to mind as I say, as we go over that part, I have asked my father for things when I was little, before I got to that point. I did years before, long time before that. This incident right here is about 1990, 91. No, it's like 92. I'm 11 or 12 around here, right? Rewind to about 85. We're talking about, 6, 7 years before. I was like in the 2nd grade. And I called my daddy and I asked him for something. Now, mind you, I didn't see my father a lot. He wasn't the every weekend or even the every other weekend. Like, when I was little, I would see him on Easter. He would come and get me and take me to some little Easter ball thing. And I wasn't frequently with my father. But the reason I say I didn't ask him for anything, because when I was about 5 or 6, somewhere in there, I would call and ask him and I remember vividly one time I called him. He said, "You only call me." He said, because he used to tell me to call him all the time. But I'm 5. And he does this to my nieces and nephews also. He tells a child to pursue him. So I remember this. I was 5 or 6 years old, and he would tell me to call him. You need to call me every day. I call. It's like, man, I'm 5. Come on, man. I'm 5. What a 5-year-old look like calling his father every single day? Now, I don't see you like that. We don't even have a relationship to where you should expect me to call you every day. But I remember him saying, don't call me asking me. The only time you call me, you calling me asking me for something. If you can't call me just to, I'm like, come on. And I'm like, I'm literally like 5 or 6 years old. And I'm thinking like, okay. But I remember that I don't really know how I processed it or what it meant to me then, but I remember that. So I never would call him and ask him for things. Like I just didn't until then. Fast forward back. It clicked for me that I couldn't then. It's like, well, dang. Like, so I started to, and I didn't know, but I started to resenting then. You know what I'm saying? And when I got off the phone and my mama said, what'd he say? I said, he said he paid child support. He did his part. And she said, he don't pay nothing. He pay a little bit. It ain't even nothing. And if I remember correctly, it was something short. It wasn't, and my mama never raised it. He even told me when I got grown, like, you know what, like, your mama is a good woman. You know, I can't remember if it was $30, $40. It was something short. I don't believe my daddy was even paying $200 for me a month or $100. It was something short. It was nothing for real compared to what a young boy needs, right? And my mama never went to court to raise the child support. She never went to court and was nasty. Well, I ain't gonna say nasty. She just wasn't that type. She didn't do it. And he even said it. He thanked her for that. Like, you know what I'm saying? So knowing that, and then I do remember he bought me these all white Patrick Ewing gym shoes a little bit after that. So he didn't get me anything for school, but I guess maybe he thought about it or whatever. Or no, I ain't gonna say that because my daddy loved me. I just don't think that I was around him in the moments to when, I don't know what it was, but I don't charge it to my daddy's heart. I don't know why, you know, it happened or didn't happen the way that it did or it didn't. So resentment for dad is coming in. I don't know these things. So all these things start materializing later. I started knowing that I had resentment for my mom and my daddy later in life. And because I would have, and the way I figured out I had built up resentment, unresolved resentment for my mama is because I called my mama one day about 15 years ago. I was like, Ma, I don't know why, but from time to time for years, and I never said nothing. I don't know why it does it, but I said, I have dreams that me and you get into a big argument and we get into it and fall out. Now, if you know my mama and you know me and my mama ain't gonna never fall out about nothing. Nothing. It's like, and that's why I had to call her and tell her, like, I keep having, because it's like, it's unfathomable that, like, if I try to think, like, what could we fall out about? Nothing. Based on my personality and her personality, ain't nothing we gonna fall out about. So, not saying, you know, she wasn't never mad at me, but I never had no reason to be mad at her. So, you know, of course she was been mad at me because I'm her child, and I done overstepped plenty of times coming up being a young man and being a a knucklehead figuring it out. You know what I'm saying? But so. And then, in recent years, I figured out that I had some resentment for my father that I didn't know was there. And just hindsight is 2020. So, all the while, and praise God, and I thank God that even all the while, even through the trauma and the drama that I was experiencing and going through, my mama was still pouring into me kingdom culture. My granny was still pouring into me kingdom culture. Nobody else consistently shaped and groomed my mind and my heart for God like my mama and my great grandmother. Also, at this time is when I am starting to think about testing the things that my mother and my grandmother is telling me about God. All the faith, all the you more than a conqueror, speak these things, all these different things that I was taught. I'm like, man, and I'm thinking about circumstances. I'm thinking about the things that I want to do and don't want to do. I'm thinking about how do we get from here to here? Why is this happening? Why, I'm conscious of all the things that I don't have. I'm conscious of all the things that I should have, all the things that I deserve as a person. And so now I'm my mama listened to, we ain't go to church all the time, but you know what I'm saying? She used to always try to find a church, and we would go, and you know what I'm saying, if it wasn't, you know what I'm saying, what she thought it should be, but she taught us at home. So I'm not living in an environment to where there's no God. No, it's God in my house. My mama taught us the word. We didn't go to church, but we watched church. We studied. My mama taught us and pushed us to step out on supernatural things and pay attention to our dreams and pay attention when we hear the Holy Spirit. So that's this war that's going on right now, because the world is coming in. Hip hop is coming in. Tupac is coming in. Scarface is coming in. I need these shoes. I want these shoes. I like that girl. I want to punch him in the face because he keep talking to me crazy and trying to bully me. How does God fit in this whole thing? Yes, mama, you told me, and I see in the word that I am a child of God. I'm the righteousness of God. I'm holy. I'm all these things, but I'm broke. I'm bummy. I'd have had to go steal Ray Ray's shoes. He done bust a hole in his shoes. I'd had to steal those shoes, sew them up, tape them on the inside, sew them up, paint them like I was refurbishing shoes in the 90s. It's what y'all doing now. I've been doing that. I had to steal Ray Ray shoes, but if I seen some shoes and they had a hole in them, I'm taking them. You ain't gonna wear them because you got, what I'm saying, you got some more stuff. You know what I'm saying? Ray Ray is my favorite cousin, my older cousin. He's 4 years older than me. And you know what I'm saying? And so he was fly. I used to steal his clothes and his shoes. And you know what I'm saying? He would keep my hair cut, you know what I'm saying, when we moved to Norwood and he lived in Bond Hill. He lived in walking distance. Oh man, this is my saving grace. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. But now is I'm trying to reconcile this me with the me that the Bible says that I am. And I believe the Bible, but I'm like, how does this fit? How does this work? What does this mean? I've already been programmed, and I'm being programmed by the world since young. And I know this is real, but do they go together? Do they fit together? How do I? Absolute surrender. So I have to learn that. My stepdad, he did, but he did a little bit. His was more surface, you know what I'm saying? Because he was pulled by his flesh and his addiction in the directions that he was pulled in. And my father, I had never even been to church with my father until outside of a funeral. I had never been to church with my father until I took him to church. I took my father to church for one of his birthdays 6 or 7 years ago. That's the first time my daddy ain't never prayed with me. He never read the Bible with me or to me. He never really my daddy ain't, if me and my daddy talked about God, it was because I brought up God. So I didn't get God or theology or anything kingdom from anywhere but my mama and my granny. So I thank God for that. So I said all that to say, through this whole ordeal, through this all of this chaos, mama and granny is still pouring into me. And at this time I'm 11, 12 years old, and my mama is starting to say things like, you have to search and find, and you have to search God and get to know him for yourself. My faith can't be your faith. I can't believe for you. You got to know for yourself. I know I've been telling you, I've been showing you, but you have to read and search him for yourself. So in the midst of all of this, the family member who introduced me to, perversion when I was little, around 11 or 12 years old, I actually literally lost my virginity to this family member. So now, full-blown sex is introduced, but not only full-blown sex, incest. So, the enemy has been chasing after me with the hounds of hell since I got here, from early. He's a mimicker of God. So God shows no partiality, and neither does he. Even so, it was even so wicked is that when I got introduced to sexual perversion at a young age, I still didn't know what sex was, because actual sex didn't happen until I was 12. And I didn't see, I wasn't introduced to pornography or anything like that, to X-rated films, to anything like that, or until I was 7 or 8 years old. So I didn't even see anything X-rated to actually know what it actually is and actually looks like. So, but I can remember when I was maybe 6 or 7, gangster rap is starting to, not necessarily gangster rap, just profane rap, where they're cussing and saying, gangster rap too, is starting to become prevalent. And the term S my D, oral sex on a man, basically. Suck my, you know what I'm saying? And people would say it in the hood as a pejorative, it didn't register that it was sexual. People would say it to be disrespectful. The older boys would say it to the older girls being disrespectful, and the older girls would cuss them out and be wanting to fight, and so, but also people would just say it to each other to be funny, or or just to be wicked, just to say something crazy to somebody. They say it, but Come on, I'm 6. I don't know what that means. I don't know what it means. I don't know what it looks like. I don't even know what I'm saying, right? So this is how strategic the enemy is, right? So at 6, 7 years old, keep in mind, I haven't actually seen sex yet. I haven't seen anything X-rated, no pictures, no tapes. No, I found my stepdaddy stash a few years later. You know what I'm saying? And then we found some pictures in the woods. You know, that's used. You know, back in the 70s, 80s, that's how we found X-rated stuff. Somebody done left it in the woods, or you found your uncle or your stepdaddy or your daddy's stash under the bed or in the back of the closet or whatever. You know, so but that hadn't happened yet. So me and my younger brother, who's 3.5 years younger than me. So if I'm 6 or 7, he's 4, something like that. So I say, Brent, suck my He say, no. And I say, if you do me, I do you. Now, we're little kids. He say, okay. And now, mind you, we don't even know what we're saying or what this means, right? But the enemy was trying to do homosexuality to us. He was trying to introduce us to a homosexual act before we even knew what it was. We didn't know what homosexuality was. We didn't know what sex was. We didn't know what we were saying. So we just put our faces in the vicinity, and we didn't even do anything. We just, but I had totally forgot about that. My brother don't even remember it because I brought it. I said, do you remember this? He's like, no, I don't remember that. But it came back up to me about 10 years ago. I was like, wow. That was so wicked. That was so dirty and underhanded what the enemy was doing to innocent little boys. So, you know, fast forward back to, you know, I'm 11, 12 years old, and now, you know, I've been introduced to full-blown sex by a family member. And on a certain side of my family, incest is a prevalent thing. I've heard reports from numerous family members that say, oh, yeah, that happened to me. A couple, male and female. You know what I'm saying? So, and I think it's more common than we know or want to admit, and that is another testament and example of how much the enemy is dedicated to destroying our homes and dedicated to destroying our lives. So now with that in the mix, we have Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. We got perversion. We got poverty and lack. So now, and we got resentment. So I'm angry and I'm fighting, and I like to fight. Because we got I got Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde at home, who's my first and ultimate bully, but now outside bullies are happening. But once I figure out that I've been bullied at home by a boxer, right? A Golden Glove boxer, right? So my reflexes is crazy. My vision to see what and when certain things and movements and you know, so I'm more advanced as far as fighting than other kids. So once I figure that out, I stopped the bullying, right? But for a few years, you know, bully trauma, you know what I'm saying? So I'm angry. So then when I figure out, oh, no. I'm a bully the bully. Now, I never became a bully, but when somebody tried to bully me, I'm gonna outdo you. I'm gonna outdo you with aggression. I'm gonna outdo you with force, and I'm gonna bully the bully. You know what I'm saying? So around the same time, I sell crack for the first time. I can't get a job yet. You know what I'm saying? It was time to do the yearly school field trip to Kings Island, you know what I'm saying, here in Cincinnati. And my granny gave me $20 for my ticket to Kings Island. And I could either buy my ticket to Kings Island or I can buy a 20 dub of crack and try to get in the dope game. Needless to say, I didn't buy a 20 dub. I just bought a 20 piece and I just made my $20 back. Horrible drug dealer. Horrible. So, you know what I'm saying? At least I didn't lose money. But I tried to sell crack. Didn't know what I was doing. I ended up just spending that money at the food truck in the hood. You know what I'm saying? And food trucks ain't a new thing. They've been around. You know what I'm saying? So we had them in the hood. Candy trucks. Usually there was candy trucks, but this particular truck had food, conies, and all that. Anyway, so you know, I'm fighting. I'm trying to sell crack. I've been introduced to sex. I've been introduced to abuse. I've been introduced to resentment, and all the same time, my mama's pushing me. Pursue God. Pursue God. Pursue God. She's praying. She's praying over me. She's anointing us. She's, you know what I'm saying? She played worship music. We didn't go to church a lot. From time to time, my mama would try to find a church, you know, and we would try church out and we would be, and then she wouldn't like it. But, you know, our church was at home. We had church at home. Thank God for that. My mama raised us up watching Ever Increasing Faith. Dr. Fred Price is my first pastor, my spiritual father. So even though I never met him before, so shout out to Apostle Fred Price. He's gone home to glory now, you know what I'm saying? But that, you know, Ever Increasing Faith. And so, you know, he wasn't one of the hooping and hollering and passing out and falling out preachers. So that's why I kind of really don't like, you know, all the hooping and hollering and all the theatrics, because that ain't what I'm used to, you know. But, you know, so church, mama had church at home. We had Bible study at home. My mama used to get the teaching series from Ever Increasing Faith, and that's what our foundation was. That's where our foundation was, and you know what I'm saying? So even though at the same time that the world was happening to me, the kingdom was happening to me at the same time. So I don't have the testimony of, I didn't know God. I didn't never hear about him. I don't have that. My testimony is figuring out my identity and how that correlates with who he is and where I'm supposed to be. So that's how I get to absolute surrender, because it's about figuring out how to absolutely surrender. So at this time also we move from the projects to the most racist town in the city, Norwood, Ohio. It's a city within a city. It's a city in Cincinnati, but it's a small town, Norwood. Literally, I experienced walking down the street and walking down the school hallway with somebody yelling out "nigger," and they would go, you know, the guys in my grade, after I, you know, like, come on, man, I'm from the projects. I've been roughed up by my stepdad who got hands, you know what I'm saying? So I could fight, and I like to fight. So the kids my age, you have to go get somebody in the high school. In junior high, you got to go get somebody from the high school for Rico Champion. So then they would go get dudes from the high school, and after I whooped them, they start bringing grown folks. You know what I mean? So now more anger, more anger, more bullies. Now Rico bullying the bully. You know what I'm saying? My stepdad is still abusive. So he's mad, he's drunk, he's high. He takes my brand new Sega Genesis into the kitchen, takes a cast iron skillet and smashes my Sega Genesis. And he got the yelling and hollering. He punched me in my lip and busted my lip open. Blood everywhere. That's the first time I was introduced to rage. That's the first time I wanted to kill somebody. Laughing. So I'm crying and I'm laughing at the same time. And in my mind, I'm going to kill you tonight. I'm going to kill you tonight.